It's an odd-looking shape you may never have heard of, but it's everywhere around you, the jagged, repeating form called a fractal. Mandelbrot's fresh ways of thinking were made possible by his enthusiastic embrace of new technology. Computers made it easy for Mandelbrot to do iteration, the endlessly repeating cycles of calculation that were demanded by the mathematical monsters.
The computer is totally essential, otherwise have taken a very big, long effort.
Mandelbrot decided to zero in on yet another of the monsters, a problem introduced during World War I by a young French mathematician named Gaston Julia.
Gaston Julia, he was actually looking at what happens when you take a simple equation and you iterate it through a feedback loop. That means you take a number, you plug it into the formula, you get a number out. You take that number back to the beginning and you feed it into the same formula, get another number out. And you keep iterating that over and over again. And the question is, what happens when you iterate it lots of times?
The series of numbers you get is called a set, the Julia set. But working by hand, you could never really know what the complete set looked like.
There were attempts to draw it, doing a bunch of arithmetic by hand and putting a point on graph paper.
You would have to feed it back hundreds, thousands, millions of times. The development of that new kind of mathematics had to wait until fast computers were invented.
At IBM, Mandelbrot did something Julia could never do: use a computer to run the equations millions of times. He then turned the numbers from his Julia sets into points on a graph.
My first step was to just draw mindlessly a large number of Julia sets. Not one picture, hundreds of pictures.
Those images led Mandelbrot to a breakthrough. In 1980, he created an equation of his own, one that combined all of the Julia sets into a single image. When Mandelbrot iterated his equation, he got his own set of numbers. Graphed on a computer, it was a kind of roadmap of all the Julia sets, and quickly became famous as the emblem of fractal geometry. Cohen made his discovery at a time when cell phone companies were facing a problem. They were offering new features to their customers, like Bluetooth, walkie-talkie, and Wi-Fi, but each of them ran on a separate frequency.
You need to be able to use all those different frequencies and have access to them without 10 stubby antennas sticking out at the same time. The alternative option is you can let your cell phone look like a porcupine, but most people don't want to carry around a porcupine.
Today, fractal antennas are used in tens of millions of cell phones and other wireless communication devices all over the world.
We're going to see over the next 10 to 15 to 20 years that you're going to have to use fractals because it's the only way to get cheaper cost and smaller size for all the complex telecommunication needs we're having.